Good afternoon and welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm Howard. It's me and Hooper alone today. They put the inmates in charge of the asylum.
And they let me loose.
And, Kenny's already kind of an inmate here. So
Kind of.
I'm like the Joker of Arkham Asylum.
There you go. So yeah. So that's what's going on. How you doing, man? How you doing, Ken? How you been? We missed you last week.
I'm doing all right. I had my last day of Specs Howard yesterday.
Awesome.
So I'm a graduate from Specs Howard School of Media Arts.
Congratulations. We have a big graduation party.
Yeah, I'm actually throwing one at the bar I work at on Sunday night for a karaoke graduation party.
Which bar is that?
Chatters in Westland.
Oh. Okay, that's where I see karaoke all the time.
I think I must have missed that phone call.
Yeah. Well, we have to pay him to be here.
Sunday. Oh, we're golfing on Sunday. Well,
not at night.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah, but the way they golf, they'll be needing a nap.
Yeah, exactly. I might need an Uber ride home. I'm not into chasing little white balls around greens.
No,
but I like driving carts, and I like beer. I don't like missing football, though. It's for a charity, so it's a good cause.
I never gave anyone the impression that I would be at a golfing event.
I see you. I could see you as a golfer.
Oh, you could see me. Can you imagine the swear words that would come out of my mouth?
That little
that would be such a setback.
Yeah, I used to be okay at my best, which is to like to shoot in the low hundreds, which is not okay. And I'll be lucky to get like 3 or 4 shots that feel good. It's going to be a bunch of slices and divots and
well, you've been playing much the last few years, huh?
Not at all, actually. It's time-consuming.
Yeah.
It's expensive. And that combined with the fact that I've just gotten a little bit lazier and poorer, it's just had to drop from my...
Well, the way I look at golf is I can wake up and be pissed off. I don't need to stand out in the sun and try to aim a tiny little ball at a hole way down there to get mad.
There's something about a sport, like, for me, sports is like, when the chips are down and the pressure's on, I want something that you can solve through physical effort.
Right.
Through
sheer determination, miraculous physical ability.
But to actually have to calm down if you're riled up, that does not compute, because when I'm riled up, I need to let it out.
It's wrong.
It is wrong. Are these your keys?
Yes, they are.
So what else? What's going on with you?
Yeah, just the same old things. Researching for shows, working, and trying to raise a family and raise a God-fearing family, and
God-fearing or God-fearing?
God-fearing. I said that incorrectly.
I didn't hear you. Yeah, I'm with you there. I had a good week with my kid.
Good.
He's in kindergarten, and he's
pretty awesome. I like your kid.
I mean, everyone thinks that about their own kid.
Yeah, but he's not my kid, and I think that. So
well, that's nice.
How's that work?
I don't want his head to get too big because everyone's telling him how cute he is and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right.
Oh, thanks.
You got to remain humble.
What else we got? What have you been researching this week?
I've just been, I'm obsessed. I was on with, I called in to Freedom Works on Tuesday.
Yeah, you tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, Tony was, I was at the office working late, and my standing Tuesday appointment was canceled, and so I, as I do with all my free time, what am I going to do? I'm going to listen to Cave Radio Broadcasting, and, of course, it was Tuesday evening, and Freedom Works, one of my very favorite shows on this network, was on.
Yeah, Tony Schwartz has a good...
He's a great guy. I mean,
no doubt. Like what I like
about Tony is he's very informed, but he really cares about people. I mean, he gets like mad, like I get mad, because it's like you care about people and you can't get through to them. And so he was talking. He pulled up one of my subjects, and I tongue-in-cheek call it a favorite subject when actually it's exactly the opposite of that. He was talking about, you want to take a guess at who he was talking about?
Who?
Yeah, at who?
Hillary Clinton.
Oh, there you go. Ding, 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 ding.
Really?
He was he had watched some Clinton Insider movie. Larry Nichols. He was watching some Larry Nichols.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he was
Larry Nichols was a Clinton friend back when they were in Arkansas.
Oh no, he wasn't a friend. He was the Clinton fixer in Arkansas.
But who came clean and ended up.
He saw something happen, and I haven't dug into that research yet. But what he said in a video was, "I saw something happen with a mother and child that broke my brain," and he walked away.
I think if we're talking about the same one,
I think we're talking about the same guy.
He did a documentary.
Yeah, and that's what Tony was talking about. He's working on Clinton Chronicles.
Right. Everyone go look at the Clinton Chronicles because these are real people in Arkansas that knew both Clintons in their rise to power, into their governorship, and then ultimately into the White House. And you can hear from some of the people that were run over by that couple and some of the survivors, because a lot of people died.
Yeah, and
a lot
of people died. A lot of people died. And so he was talking about that, and he was voicing a similar frustration to the one I have, is that when you talk to intelligent, educated people who just think Trump is a jerk, which Trump is a jerk, and they won't consider a third-party candidate. You know, they're either union people who are voting their pension and are going to get a big surprise, or they're they don't like Trump, so they're going to vote for Hillary because they think she's the only other choice. And I'm just like, you're intelligent. How can you in good conscience vote for that woman? And Tony was voicing those frustrations, so I got on the horn and called in, and we talked about it for a while, and it was really cool. Like I said, I love his show, and I was happy to be able to contribute a little bit.
Yeah, my attitude is this, because there hasn't been an election that I've really, and this long before I was a conspiracy theorist, there was just something in me that just said, these standing in line to vote for one of two lesser evils, for candidates that are pre-chosen, so no matter who you choose, we're being led down the wrong. That has been like the last election where I cared, where I thought it made a difference, was when Ross Perot was
you
running.
And me both.
And then we had the Bush, the Clintons, the Obamas, and it's basically been one.
I did drag my tired ass out to vote for McCain, no matter how bad it hurt, just to cast my vote against Barack Obama.
If you were to judge my patriotism by my voting record, people would go,
Did you ever vote Democrat back in the day?
I was never. I regurgitated what my dad believed up through the end of college, first couple of years. Before I even started to form my own opinions, I was raised in a Republican household.
Okay. And that's stuck. U of M education, living in Chicago. That's stuck, huh?
I was by and large Republican.
Thank God. That gives me hope for my son.
Well, the thing is over time I started to, I just started to think, and the bottom line is there's no difference between the parties.
No, you're right.
The war policy is the same, the economic policy the same, the erosion of rights policy the same. It really comes down to this.
You don't think that the conservatives, because I hate to make it a Republican-Democrat thing, but you don't think that the conservatives at least treat the military better? I think they're still using them for immoral activities, but don't you feel that our military is better off and being better taken care of under a conservative regime than under a liberal regime?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Each party has its own redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
It's not as if they're both without
right
some meat in there.
Oh, they're both serving the same agenda. They're just going at it from different sides of the table.
What irritates me is when people debate presidential elections or debate their favorite candidate without knowing what they're talking about.
Couldn't agree with you more.
And then you realize I'm talking to someone that's only picking this candidate, and it's normally for
based on a hairstyle.
It's one of two reasons. Yeah, basically, it's one, they're just following in the footsteps of their family or their husband or their wife or whatever. Or two, it is totally a decision based on who they like more. And the thing that I appreciate about Trump, which is what so many people don't like, is he's very outspoken. Like, I
love it. I don't always love what he's saying, but I love the fact that he has the conviction to say it, because one of the things that's murdering this country is political correctness, and I love the fact that he goes after it. That's one of the things that's going to get me to listen to you. I don't have to agree with what you're saying, but come on, quit dancing around. Call a spade, say it.
Well, when I've got people...
Because I'm tired of these... I'm sorry, I don't mean to be
No,
cutting you off,
that's all
but
right.
I'm tired of these non-answers and lies.
Yeah, they're... Like, if you actually think... Like, if you really have a hamster in a wheel up in your head and the thing is working, what is... It's laughable what is shown to us in terms of having enough information to make an intelligent vote anyway. And it's not like I'm fed up with it or anything, but, people eye roll me when I talk conspiracies from time to time. But I must, I guess the other end of that is I roll people when, that is I roll people.
Gotcha.
2 I's in there, not spelled the same. When they start to talk about, oh my God, we'd be in so much danger if Trump were president, or they might say the exact. And I'm like, well, what do you base that on? Oh, well, Trump's he's going
to get us in World War III. That's what they think. And the thing is one of my close friends. Okay, now I will admit we do have some. There are some differences in our beliefs, but he's a good person. Okay, he's not much different than I am. He'll vote for Hillary. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, and he's using, the reason he's voting for Hillary is the exact same reason I will vote for Trump. And he does not believe Benghazi, Whitewater, that people ended up dead, won't watch Clinton cash. And this dude is basically me. And I can't believe it. And his reason for voting for Hillary is he thinks Trump is a great unknown. And at least with Hillary, he knows what he's going to get.
Yeah, you're going to get
that's what I'm saying.
Plate full of crap.
Yeah. And I'm looking at him going, that's the exact reason that I am probably going to vote for Donald Trump, is because I know what I'll get out of Hillary. The Clintons will get richer, more people will disappear and die, and the healthcare agenda, pretty soon they'll be checking boxes. I mean, they already got healthcare companies.
But go to the big look. Hillary, could easily fulfill the last couple of stages necessary for this one world government.
Without a doubt.
And I know, and I'm not saying I believe or I think. This is an I know, and this is because I've probably spent, I don't even consider myself a political pundit whatsoever, but I've already done more research into the candidates just as a byproduct of what our show topics are.
Right, because you always end up, it always crosses
it
the line
absolutely
somewhere.
In fact, I'll tell you one about Hillary in a minute. But there is no doubt in my mind that this woman is, I'm talking evil as in biblical evil.
DiBiase's positive she eats babies.
Oh,
and it would not shock me.
For people that don't understand, that it's sort of a joke we're referencing, but in the inner circles of what, pop culture calls the Illuminati or the New World Order, the elite, the 1%, the banksters, and we've mentioned before they were labeled as the Synagogue of Satan by Jesus Christ himself. These are literally the devil's human henchmen on earth. And before I knew there was a devil, I had already discovered that these people praised Lucifer. Now, at the time, devil, Lucifer, they're one and the same. He's Lucifer to the Illuminati because that's back when he was a beautiful angel, not the fallen Satan, the opposer, the ugly creature that he is now. So, he can. So at first I just thought it was weird. Isn't it weird all these powerful people actually praise the same way I used to think all these people are weird for praising Jesus Christ, and then all of a sudden it hit me. Whoa, they're not. It's not. They're not.
They're getting short-term gain.
Whether you really believe in God, Jesus, or the devil or not, hold that aside. They do, and they believe Satan is real. He's very interactive with, quote unquote, his children on earth, and they are the rulers across the planet. They own the corporations. They're the people behind the banks, behind all European royalty, behind the Vatican. They're all one. They're like a little connected club. It's not easy to trace it because the founder of the Illuminati himself.
And the best part is with it is they will lead you to believe that they're trying to secularize, that they're trying to remove the gray area that exists when you involve God in things. They're trying to lead you to believe that they're secularizing our society for our good, but all they're doing is removing God.
Well, God's been removed from America.
Now they're trying to remove the church.
I was watching just today this interview of Prince, and Prince was on a talk show, and this was a very recent talk show, obviously not since he died, but just before he died. And he had come out and basically talking about a number of things that were going on in our world where he's just like, I just woke up. And he talked about how he had spent 21 straight days in London, 21 sold-out shows, and after the show he'd go home, turn on the TV, and he was really surprised that in England the mention of the Bible is a very common and frequent. It's all over, and he said it was so strange compared to the United States because it's never never ever mentioned.
Not unless you're on a cable, not unless you're flipping on a cable.
It's not even mentioned on sitcoms, or maybe as a joke a little bit, but there's not.
It's always a punchline if it gets mentioned.
And the other interesting thing, and this is how strange things happen, because 2 days ago, by accident, I learned about a guy named Dick. Is it Dick? Dick Gregory? I hope I got his first name right. Black guy, was a comedian. I call him a philosopher now. Absolutely. When I first started listening to him, I'm like, okay, this dude is on crack and he's whacked out. Because it took me a while to understand his vernacular. Mm-hmm. And, but once I started to I started to get it a little bit. This guy absolutely, he understands what the Illuminati are, how they work in Hollywood. They're put into all places of society, and he went on this. He has educated himself a lot about things like chemtrails, and that's one of the things that Prince mentioned on this talk show, and then brought up this guy's name. So I'm in the middle of conspiracy world for a few years now. I've never, that I remember, heard of, and I want to say it's Dick Gregory, and I almost want to Google it just to make sure. And then all of a sudden, in a span of 48 hours, I hear his name twice.
Yeah, well, there's no coincidence involved there. There's a reason.
Yeah, this is him. He looks,
okay.
You'd never know
he looks
it.
Old school, like he invented the cotton gin or something.
Exactly. I know exactly what he's like. He does not black Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, he does not look like a comedian I would imagine Prince would reference.
Author, comedian, former comedian. He's a civil rights activist, philosopher now. There's just something. God, there's just something strange going on in this web. I mean, do people not sense it?
Well, the one thing, and then we can close the Pandora's box of Clinton for this show if you want. The one thing that Larry Nichols said, with all the other things he said that are unfolding at the moment,
and they used to be really good friends.
He was their fixer. He was their Ray Donovan. Okay. The one thing he said. So all six of you, I want you to hear this. Because if it happens, then you're going to know we weren't crazy. If Hillary gets the presidency, within a few months, she will make Bill the ambassador to the UN. And then the second he gets installed as ambassador of the UN within a very short period of time, the UN will make him the Secretary General. And then they will be the most powerful couple on Earth. And that is his prediction. He's like, that's where they're going. That's what they've always been grooming for. That's where they're going.
Well,
and so many other things he said make total sense. I mean, maybe they're going to get wrecked. Maybe they're going to get delayed 4 years by a miraculous Trump win. You know, maybe they'll get derailed. But, I mean, man, if I see that happening, I don't know what I'm going to do.
The eating babies commentary. It's a little joke, but it's also a little bit serious. And where that originates from, if you ever Google something like Illuminati defectors, and one of the ones you can go look at is, there's so many of them. Go look up a lady named Kathy O'Brien. She worked in the Bush White House. They all tell the same story about mind control, total perversion. I mean, and murder, death, ritual sacrifices. I've probably listened to the testimony of 20, 30 different people that have had the guts to come out and say, look, in these inner circles, literally, they sacrifice human beings and then they eat them. Literally. And it's funny because the Bible predicted that this would be happening. And then to have all these people come, they have no couching in the Bible. They're just saying, oh my God, these people are utterly insane. I think it's what John Lennon was referencing when he said, this is a crazy world run by, or it's a crazy world run by maniacs or run by crazy people, whatever.
One of the things that has become so obvious to me over the last several months, that was a prophetic Bible prediction. They said it in the Bible. And, you know, the deeper we dig into this stuff and the more we look at it, and especially when you're looking at the Clintons and their ilk, I mean, everybody has different motivation. But with the Clintons, it is not just power. They are obsessed with money on top of it. And not everybody who's obsessed with power is obsessed with money. It often comes with power. But not everybody is willing to do the things the Clintons have done to make money. And I sat back, and as I'm watching this and seeing just the disgusting things that they're getting away with, it popped into my head. Money's the root of all evil.
The love of money. Money in and of itself, it's just a tool.
Right.
The love of money is where people get themselves into trouble. And, you know, I don't even know if the Clintons are the Clintons anymore. And I mean that somewhat with a smirk on my face. I'm not ready to talk about this because I can't prove any of this. And I haven't. There certainly are some, but not enough to sway me. This is testimony of people that claim, you guys, you don't understand like how prevalent clones are in this world. And there's a bunch of guys, and I would even go as far as to go wackos like us that, you know, they're doing their work on the fact that, you know, there are a lot of clones in Hollywood. There's clones in our government. That Hillary herself is a clone. To which there are some things that I still have a hard time. Like,
yeah, I'm with you. I haven't touched any of that yet.
There is nothing I will ever dismiss anymore, ever again, because I've seen too many things that are just.
No, I will.
Impossible.
I will say that, you know, I'm not on that one yet. You know, I don't have an opinion one way or the other because the things that we have found on this little trip down the rabbit hole, nothing shocks me anymore. I've seen things that I would have bet my life weren't true, and they've been absolutely true.
Same here. Seen them with my own eyes, yeah. and that's where, man, that's what changed my heart, and that's when I realized. This is kind of serious. I mean, humanity's about to change. Now, whether that's in a few years or in a few decades, I think it's in that ballpark. I don't think this is something like our great-great-great-great-grandchildren are going to need to worry about. I do believe myself that this is relatively a current event that we're going to all have to deal with at some point. That the stage is, like, if it's a chess game, we are one move away from an apparent checkmate. And if you believe the biblical prophecy, the predictions as I do, that it says the world essentially will be checkmated, and that's what's going to get Jesus Christ to come back and essentially wipe out all the evil on earth. I can't wait for that, to be honest with you. I personally am looking forward to it, because when you start to see how effed up and broken this place really is, I don't want to make it sound like I'm suicidal or anything like that, but like I'm ready to get off this rock.
Yeah,
like, I want to just go home.
I still have things to learn, things to do, responsibilities to take care of.
I know what you're saying. No doubt about that.
See, I don't think I can't. I always hesitate to put a number on anything, because no man will know the day or time. But see, what the major difference in what you and I feel and what we believe is that I always root for the underdog, man. I think that enough people are waking up, as someone who has recently been awoken, and someone who that would be awakened. And I'm watching people around me that I never thought would be awakened, and they're waking up. I'm thinking we're getting ready for a push.
Well, that's one of the reasons I don't think we've got 20 years, because at the rate that this is happening,
what I will give you is that if this goes on for another 20 years with no change, we're screwed. But what I'm looking at is I think that enough of us are going to wake up, and people will start to wake up, because I mean our generation's in power right now.
Now, see, I look at it differently. If this were to go on another 20 years unchanged, I think we'd actually be golden, because in 20 years, the whole planet, the whole world, is going to know what's up.
Do planets have to be round?
Yeah. I don't think Satan's going to risk 1,500 years, almost 2,000 years of the groundwork he's laid for what's coming. He's not dumb. He knows, and I think he knows everyone individually where they are in terms of their, not through some magical godly power, but the people that are behind the NSA and the CIA. I mean, these are part of his people.
I'm sure he trained them himself.
So, in 20 years, I mean, there would be, it would just be common knowledge that aliens, for instance, are demons, that there is something in our sky, and everyone would be ready for the deception. Like, if it's got to happen.
You do your alien thing. Did you realize that there's the president of some Slavic nation that claims to have been abducted by aliens?
You don't even need to go to Europe. We've got President Carter, Reagan. I don't know about Bush, but we've had presidents and lots of governors and high-level politicians that they say, look, I'm telling you, I've seen these guys myself. Like, they've said this.
Well, this guy says he was actually abducted, experimented on, and sent back.
I believe it. If you, I didn't do this research. This is research from an organization called MUFON. They've got guys that have compiled 911 police reports from every individual police precinct going back to like 1950-something, and came out with the estimation that somewhere between 1% and 3% of the United States has claimed, I'm not going to say they were abducted, but they've claimed to have had an abduction experience. So let's just take the average, let's just take the middle of that 2%. Well, 300 million people in the U.S., that's 6 million.
Right. And for every one who steps forward and claims to be abducted.
Yeah, most of these people want it. Well,
how many won't make the phone call?
Exactly. And are all 6 million liars? I don't think so. It only takes...
Are they all suffering from the same mental disorder? I doubt it.
One of them is telling the truth. Your worldview needs to change.
Yep.
And I'm guessing that one of those 6 million people was real. I mean, there just aren't that many things that we're going to confuse for a weather balloon in this world. I mean, and that's the other thing is, I've really in the last year or two, I've come to realize how utterly stupid our species is.
Mm-hmm.
We're dumber than animals in a lot of senses. You can't lead a dog astray. Well, there's a saying about that. I can't make a dog or a horse want to. You know what? Bad example. I was gonna say you can't make them harm each other, but we're so easily led by our nostrils.
Left to their own nature.
We're so Obama, Clinton's UN. Now, what I found interesting, and I don't have because we weren't planning on talking about this.
No,
but,
sorry.
I was listening to a former Obama insider. Again, I don't know if this guy's credible or not, so take this with a grain of salt. And like we say for everything, don't believe us. Do your own research.
Yeah,
I mean,
please.
If we're wrong about something, I don't want you to carry it on. It means a lot more if you see it. But what this guy said was that Obama is aware of revelation, and he's aware that it sounded as if Obama himself wants to be the Antichrist. Now, I don't think Obama's the Antichrist. And
I don't think so either.
And understand this. It's not like, if you're in those circles, everyone in those circles are deceived themselves. And Obama apparently believes that he is going to be moved to the UN to become essentially the whatever that title would be, that the first one world government leader. And this person that was this Obama insider went on to say that he doesn't even realize that he's deceived about that. And that wouldn't surprise me that, well, these people are absolutely deceived. I mean, I don't know how that can happen.
I don't know either.
I mean, unless you're maybe born into a family like that.
Well, I mean, if you're born into it, if that's the way you're raised, I mean, you look at people of other religions you look at the Middle East. They're fed nothing but religion, and then they have people who are twisting and perverting their religion for their own personal gain. And if if you're told from the time you're born that you're righteous if you do this, you're going to go do it. I mean, if he was conditioned, if he was groomed to make this happen, he probably believes it. Yeah, everybody likes to think they're smarter than everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably convince my son, if I wanted to, that Lucifer was the real God and God's not,
Because right now to your son, you're God.
Well, he's innocent and he's young. In fact, there's a quote in that book we've got coming out, and it was from, I want to say it was George Christoph Lichtenberg. Oh, here it is. He said this in 1796, but it's a timeless truism, and this could perhaps explain how some people get trapped into something really nasty. But his quote was, "We accumulate our opinions at an age when our understanding is at its weakest." And, you could, someone once said, "Let me raise a kid until he's 7, and I'll tell you what sort of man he'll be for the rest of his life." So that might explain how some of these...
true.
Another guy that I was watching today, former Minister of Defense for Canada, Paul Hellyer.
Okay.
And I just ran across an interview he was doing. And he got famous several years back when he made a public plea to the U.S. government from his position as the Canadian Minister of Defense, saying that, USA, please, you are the, it's your nation that is keeping the world from essentially understanding that there are aliens in our skies. Our Canadian, he's Canadian. Our military's seen him, your military has. Everyone is talking about it except for you. And he made this impassioned plea, please open up your records, America. So, as of a few years ago, I'm thinking, okay, minor victory here, because to believe there's something in our skies is a minor victory.
Right.
You're on your way to figuring out what that really is.
It's what it really is.
But most people are stuck in, there's nothing up there, and you're crazy if you do. And every time credible people come out saying, no, there is something up there, you need to check into, this is important. And he starts off several years ago talking about how he believed that these were aliens. And that's all he mentioned. Didn't mention Illuminati, he didn't mention Satan, didn't mention God, didn't do anything. So I'm watching an interview he was doing, and you can see his bookshelf behind him. And I started looking at all the books that are on the shelf. And he was doing an interview on a little bit outside of his range. He's talking about the clamps that the financial industry has on us. And I'm like, okay, it's like as if this guy is starting to learn, okay, now you know where the power's coming from. It's the people behind the central banks. And then I'm looking at all the books on his shelf, and I believe now the guy must totally get it. I mean, the books were about how aliens are not from some other planet. These are the demons from the Bible. He's got different Bibles. This is a guy that woke up late in life. He's probably 75 now. And I suspect that, with him, how it probably started was that he saw something with his own eyes, or someone that is very credible to him saw something with their own eyes and told him that these things are real. He does a little checking. Perhaps he's already on top of it because he was the Minister of Defense of Canada. You'd think if they're doing a routine patrol flight and they see some white orbs following along.
I think he's going to find out about it.
He might have known about it. But it's led into a bunch of different areas. So, do you need a coffee or something like that?
Oh, dude. Shot of vitamin B, I don't know.
Long days?
Yeah, long days.
Oh, who else? G. Edward Griffin, too, was... Do you know who that is?
No.
The creature from Jekyll Island? That's the book that made him famous, but he talks on a series of these alternative subjects. He went to University of Michigan. I didn't know that. But his expose on the 1913 Federal Reserve Act and how it came to be, it's one of the most... Everyone needs to read this book. I mean, if you want to understand why the world is the way it is and all these things that are going on that just seem counterintuitive to what a loving people would do or what this explains like the seat of evil, the seat of power of evil in this world. And it's called The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Okay. And you look at where a lot of these people seize power, and it was by causing the stock market crash, which caused the Great Depression here. And as I was researching Illuminati things for another show, I read an article about one of the Rothschilds, and it was during the Napoleonic Wars, and Napoleon was at war with Britain, and he spread
the rumor that
he got word from an insider that Great Britain was about to take Napoleon down. And he spread a rumor through London
of the exact opposite. And everybody freaked out, and they had a stock market crash. And he used every dime he had. That's where he amassed his fortune. Because as they were selling, he was buying it for next to nothing. And then within the next week, the news got back.
that Great Britain actually won that war, and he became the richest man in England.
Interesting. Well, that family, their net worth has been estimated at 500 trillion with a T, which is about the amount of, well, it's probably 2/3 the amount of debt that exists on this planet.
Yeah, we owe the other third to China, right?
At the end of the day, well, and the Chinese owe them. I mean, at the end of the, because all currency that's in circulation, almost all currency. I mean, there are things like bitcoins, and there's a few other. There still is gold and silver that's traded, but at the end of the day, all currency, by and large, in circulation, began as a debt to this family.
Right.
Because every time a nation needs another $500 million pumped into our economy, well, they would just run their printing press.
Right.
And I have a friend in Chicago, Columbia-educated guy, and he prides himself on being intelligent and well-read. And this is what I mean by, and we actually were in a debate about presidential politics, and he thinks Trump's a disaster and Hillary is, you have to vote for Hillary. And then I started talking to him about, you guys know this is all a game in a sense. I mean, until you realize the economic system, and everyone always goes, "Oh yeah, of course, the economic system." And then I asked him, I go, "Well, do you understand why it's so dangerous?" And he's like, "Well, I'm not following you. What are you talking about?" So I gave him this example, which I know you've heard, but for the sake of the audience, I'll give it again. And this illustrates how much power these people have. So I gave him the example of my hometown. And I go, actually, I'll make this even simpler. If I were to start a new quote-unquote utopian society on some island in the Pacific, all right? And it's going to have 1,000 people in it. Now, of course, multiply this by the size of nations in the world today. There's so many zeros on this, it starts to get hard to fathom. And this little, of course, this is a language exercise in a vacuum. But if let's just say the opportunity presented itself for 1,000 people to go form their own nation. And everyone's going to need to do certain jobs. There's going to be, some people want to become doctors, some people want to build houses, some people want to become farmers.
I do not want to be in the printing industry. I'm not joining your nation if you make me the printer.
So I'm explaining this to him, and I'm like, all right, first day our new little nation's in business, and I've got business experience, so I'll be the banker. And everyone's all happy so far. And the bank we just opened up, i.e. me, but we opened up, is going to give out loans to everyone, so, no worries about that. And 999 people get in line for a loan. Someone needs $50,000 to go to college. The doctor needs $50,000 to buy x-ray equipment. The farmer needs $50,000 to buy a tractor. The builder needs $50,000 to buy wood, etc. You get the picture. Mm-hmm. And I loan all this money out to everybody. And everything's great. The society's moving. There is money is circulating.
There's an economy, yeah.
We've got an economy. Everything's good. And my friend is sitting here. He's nodding. He's like, okay, yeah, I get it. And I go, do you realize that I just became your king? And he got all quizzical. And he's like, I don't follow you. And I go, well, what's the math here? The 1,000 people on this little island in our new little country, and let's just say we loaned out an average of $50,000 to each one of them. Well, my net worth now, I'm owed $50 million plus interest. You owe 50, and you owe, each one of you individually owes that now to the bank, which is me. And you have to understand, our Federal Reserve Bank is not a federal agency. Mm-hmm. It is a private. It is a private company that is owned by bloodline family members, beginning with the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, the names that circulate.
Morgans.
So, and I went on to say to my friend, I go, so look, the guy that I lent $50,000 so he could start up a newspaper, I go, if I don't like the message he's saying, or if he's not printing the things that I want that are moving me towards my goal, which might be to invade the next island. So I want to build up a military, which means I need to create fear, which means I need my media telling all the people on my little new country island. Now, I'm just the banker. There's a mayor of the city, but he answers to me too, because where do you think he got the money to become mayor, to run for office? Oh, he borrowed it from me, from the bank. I go, so I control him too. I'm behind the scenes, but don't get me wrong. And I've been the CEO of several companies. The money controls it, and there is no two ways about that. And if they, normally it's done legally. Like one of my businesses, we raised a few $1 million. These guys got with that. If I wanted that money, I had to give them voting rights into our company. And when it came down to it, and I was a young kid, but this was one of my first slaps across the face of, grow up. You're playing with the big boys now. When there was something I want to do for my business that I knew was right, they vetoed me. And they went in a different direction. And it's very hard because you start your own business. It's sort of like your baby. But when you give it away in exchange for money, which is what Woodrow Wilson did with the 1913 Federal Reserve Act, we gave we gave away the most important right. If you understand what the Revolutionary War was about, it wasn't about taxes on tea, all right? It was about escaping the tyranny that the Rothschilds held over Europe. And these people our founding fathers went out of their way to say, we can never give away our ability to print money. In fact, even as our Constitution stands now, the fact that we allow a private agency to print it is technically illegal. This, I believe, is why John F. Kennedy was ultimately killed, because he was going to abolish the Federal Reserve and their Gestapo henchmen, which is the CIA. They're all related. They come from the same place. So back to this example of if I don't like this guy's newspaper, there's so many things I can do to get him to either come to my way of thinking or get him out of my way. I can call in his loan. I can fund 10 other guys to start up newspapers and drown them out. But let's understand something. I am in control of this society now. And my friend, Dartmouth educated, really smart guy, he's looking at me and he's like, well, wait a minute. Where did you get the $50 million to put into circulation on your little utopian?
You made it.
I go, I ran a printing. I had some sheets of paper and I put a $sign on them. I gave him out and said, hey, this is money. And he goes, it's not backed by anything. I go, no. That ended. We've been losing that in phases. And the last one was in Nixon when he took us off the gold standard.
Yep.
And his jaw just kind of dropped. And I'm like, yeah. So the people now, forget the little example about this little hypothetical town.
Davetopia.
In the real world, these guys had been doing this all across the world, and it was the formation of the United States that really, in a sense, put a crimp in their plans. And I don't think it's an accident that we were founded under God, and very quickly we became a manufacturing economic powerhouse. We didn't lose a single war until we got rid of the Bible, by the way. It was a blessed nation, let's just be honest. And the very same tyranny that we fought to escape, they got a hold of us again. And they've had us for 100 years. So everyone listening to this was born into this. So it's hard to it's hard for it to feel dangerous or close, because this was in place long before us, and life has seemingly been going on as normal for, ever since it happened. So what am I really going to worry about? Okay, so they print money, who cares?
Yeah.
But
live out my life
until you start to realize behind the scenes what they are planning to do and why they wanted to control the money and who they answer to. because it is,
and that their motives are inhuman.
Well, I don't think
they don't care. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of people cannot fathom. Because, most people I know, they care about other people. They have compassion. And when you're as powerful as these people are with their agenda and their end game, we're nothing to them. We're a rock. We're a gum wrapper.
Well, they view themselves as gods, as the chosen.
Right.
And it's funny, they're Lucifer's chosen ones.
Yeah.
Now, what they don't know is that they've tied their sails to the wrong god.
To an anchor.
Between Lucifer and the creator god, only one of them has been able to predict the future without a mistake. And he was very clear about, this is how it's going to happen. This is how I've got children on earth. Satan does too. In fact, it was in the book of Daniel when he talks about how the fourth hidden kingdom, Daniel, very prophetic book, written, I want to say like 700 BC, maybe it was 400 BC. And he talks about how the Babylonians are going to be wiped out, then the Greeks are going to come, then the Romans are going to come. Then the Roman Empire won't die, it'll go quiet. This is what's written in the Bible. It'll go hidden. And what does that mean? Like I didn't understand it until literally just a few years ago. And here these guys are on literally the verge of world conquest, just exactly as God had said would happen. And in that fourth kingdom, the hidden Rome, Daniel is writing about, and he's getting his words right from, whether it's inspired or the Holy Spirit makes him write stuff.
He's hooked up.
I don't know how that works exactly.
He's hooked up.
But he says something really interesting about this fourth kingdom, because it's all presented to us in the metaphor of this creature, like the head of, I'm going to screw some of this up because we don't have cat here. But this creature has a head of bronze, which represented the Babylonians, and then, each representation brings us down to his feet, which are the fourth demonic kingdom of Earth's history, which will be this hidden Rome. And he goes on to talk about how the leaders of that governmental system will mix themselves with the seed of man. Or I should say, the seed... you know what? I got to find it, because I don't want to screw this up. Bottom line is right in Daniel, it talks about how there will be children of Lucifer. They will have mixed their DNA, their gene pool, with that of Lucifer's. And they will be very different than God's chosen on earth. Very hard to get your arms around until, for those of you guys that are way off on one end of the conspiracy spectrum, maybe look into all of those rumors about reptilian hybrids on the news in our government, because it would make a lot of sense.
Denver Airport, right?
Oh, yeah, well, that's a whole nother...
Well, we'll leave you with that. We're going to give you time to look up reptilian underdwelling creatures while we take a break here and pay a few bills. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to Down the Rabbit Hole. We've taken a few minutes to do a little Googling, and Dave has some interesting information.
To do a little cancer stick smoking.
Yeah.
All right, so that reference to Daniel. So this is from the King James Bible, and this is Daniel 2:43. And it says this: "And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay." Now you have to understand, so much of the book is written in code, and this is why I think God says, if you look for me, I'll make myself known to you. But if you're not going to go check these things out, if you don't care about me or my story, then you're kind of on your own.
It'll be hidden from you.
Well, anyway, it says, So what I'm going to say might not sound like governments, but you have to understand that...
you might be better off reading the NIV version if you have it.
Well...
Because you're kind of going King James, which is
ish.
hard for even believers to read.
Well, I understand, but you'll understand this. The book of Revelation, for instance, it is written in code. But the code is deciphered in all other parts of all throughout the Bible,
right.
Many different times over. So, when it talks about a creature, a 10-horned creature coming out of the sea. Well, the sea in earlier books are the people of the world. And a horn can be a government or a kingdom or a king. So you have to understand, you've got to be couched a little bit. So it reads like this. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. The most important phrase there is, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, which means they're not the seed of men.
Right. They're mixing. They're talking about a foreign something.
Well, I think we're talking about some kind of hybrid Nephilim-like type creature. And I'm not going to speak with authority on whether reptilians are real or not. But I'll tell you this. If they are, it would just be another unbelievable prediction that is written in that book. So if you happen to be someone that just happens to believe that there are really hybrid reptilians out there, do the math on that and understand that that is part of an ancient prediction God made of what would be happening. Use what we say to get to the ultimate truth, which for me, and I still have a hard time believing that I even say these things, because I still remember who I was just even a few short years ago. That book is the truth of our world.
Without a doubt. And just for those who want to hear it and a little more, I'll go to the NASB, which is less controversial than the NIV. So we're doing Daniel 2:43 again in translated more layman terms. And in that you saw the iron mixed with common clay, they will combine with one another in the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, even as iron does not combine with pottery.
Yeah. Do some research on that. Just Google Daniel 2. All you have to do is go to YouTube and just type in Daniel 2:43.
And there will be 50 videos.
And you can hear exactly. There will probably be 1,000 videos of everything from preachers to theologians to historical figures that will talk about what that passage means. Listen to all of them. Don't discount this stuff. No. Listen to it and sit back and just let your heart convict you. You'll feel it. I mean, if there's something inside you going, ooh, there's something about this sounds... I mean, that might be that is for me how I came to learn the truth of our world. Was actually, now this one was, so I told you, we're in the closing phases of this book, and the extra little section I've added to each quote is what's going to probably delay the publishing of this after the first week of October. Nonetheless, what was it? Oh, let me see here. Oh, yeah, here it is. Peter Abelard, or Pierre Abelard. He's medieval French. He was a knight. He quit that essentially to become a philosopher. And he had a really... this is just true. He said, or wrote, the beginning of wisdom is found in doubting. By doubting, we come to the question, and by seeking, we may come upon the truth. That absolutely embodies how I got here.
Yeah, me too.
Because this all started with, for me, a question about 9/11. And, I mean, there are still people in this world that scoff at the concept of 9/11 being a false flag, made-up event. Now, when someone does that to me, I used to get angry at them, and I actually now feel sorry for them, because that is one lost, duped person.
Yeah.
If you can't solve the 9/11 puzzle with the ocean of information that's out there, it means you're not looking, and it means that you are going to get swept up. And believe me, if you try to figure this out once it starts happening, I'm gonna go on a limb here and say it will be hopeless for you. You will not be able to. In fact, I think one of the reasons that there are a lot of people that feel or can see what's coming, and I think a lot of it is literally just mental preparation to be ready for what is going to literally, as the Bible also says, the things that will come up on the earth from inside. Now you start to think of all these things that are going to be coming up on the earth within a generation of the reestablishment of Israel, which was an impossible prediction, are going to be so scary that men will have heart attacks and die. Now, I'm not being chauvinist. When the Bible says men, it's talking about humanity, men and women. And you start to piece together what has been going on in underground military facilities, underground caves, Phil Schneider's story. And, you know, Illuminati folks, see, every time you guys go and kill someone like Phil Schneider, you actually give credence to his words. You make him more credible. And we'll talk a little bit more about these. He's one of my heroes. Phil Schneider was a defense contractor under oath for secrecy. What he came out and said, he said, this can get me killed or thrown in prison. And he came out with a bunch of evidence, as much as he could, that, and an incredible story that they were doing a construction on an underground DUMS, I think is what they're called, underground military base. I don't know what the D stands for, whatever. That's not a conspiracy. I mean, there's underground
everywhere.
It's all over the place. And if that sounds strange to you, that's another indicator that you are in a deep fog, and you really need to wake up if you care about your soul. But he talked about how they were in a little construction basket being lowered by a crane. They broke through this floor into a lower sub-level, into a place that he thought was solid, only to suddenly find himself staring at several hundred 9 feet tall reptilian-like alien creatures. And there was actually a gun. It turned into a gun battle, and about 60 or 70 American soldiers died. He himself, you can see, he was mangled. Now, could he have been making this up? Absolutely possible. Sure. But is he the only guy that said this?
No.
No.
So why would he choose that story if that's the one he was going to stick
People
to?
that don't know Phil Schneider are coming out saying the exact same story. Like, oh my God, these things are real. Like, you guys don't understand. They're breeding these things underground. There's millions and millions of them. And I think these are the same dudes we see flying around in space. These are essentially biological suits that do nothing more than act as a host for a demonic entity to come in and essentially take over. Nonetheless, he didn't put any of that together. He wasn't a biblical dude. He was just talking about one. He's like, look, people, I'm telling you what I saw because I feel like it is my responsibility as a human to discuss this. But I'm telling you, I know what I saw. And, I'm not a fan of doing this. This is not, I've lost my wife and my friends and but this is the truth, and I've got to say it. And he tells this story of how some of the guys that were lowered in this basket with him died. He got hit with some sort of a laser. You can see his hand was melted off, and he's badly injured by this. That this led to a shootout between American forces and this underground hybrid reptilian army. He went out of his way to also say, these things, they can be killed. At least their physical bodies can. And that this was the 9-foot variety type. Then you flash forward to a NASA press conference held 10 years later by a different guy in a different state who's coming out and saying, look, we are working with aliens. Now, you can think they're aliens and you want to expose the truth about that, not realizing you have just stumbled onto one of the most awesome predictions in the Bible, that these fallen angels are going to be wreaking some major havoc right in the last days. And the very same reptilian type of creature that he's discussing is the same one that the NASA guy talks about when he said, well, actually, we've documented, I don't know, it's a big number, like in the dozens of quote-unquote species. And I actually found an 1855 painting of... so this plan must at least go back into the 1850s, because there was a painting of these Pleiadian women, which look like the Nordic whites. That would be one of the races of these things that are out there.
Okay.
They've presented themselves as aliens. These are the ones that U.S. Navy Admiral, is it Richard Byrd? Whatever his first name was, Byrd.
If it's Byrd, it's Richard Byrd.
Who led a couple of...
Antarctic.
And he ran into some super advanced society in Antarctica, claiming that they're from the Pleiadian star system. And these were very attractive, very human-like aliens, not the reptilian type. These people just look like humans. So it was interesting to find that as far back as 1855, look up the painting. It's something about the dancing Pleiadian women, and you can see these Nordic, tall, attractive women dancing. And we don't know much about star systems at this point, or even life on other planets. The craze with life on Mars and Venus, which happened in the 50s and 60s. Yeah. And the interesting thing is in the 50s and 60s, these police precinct reports that MUFON did their research on, all of these people in there, or a lot of these people claimed that they were abducted, and they were told by these aliens that we are from Mars. Some say we are from Venus. And now, flash forward 50 years later, they're now saying they're from different star systems. They're not saying they're from Mars or Venus anymore, perhaps because I don't believe anything NASA says. So don't quote me on this one, but we've now determined that Venus, for instance, is uninhabitable. Although somehow the Russians dropped, was it Viking? Was that their mission to Venus?
No, Viking was ours. Wasn't Viking Mars?
Possibly, but...
I know Viking was ours. I'm not sure where it went. But
this is like learning how to think, because we'll use the name Viking for now. But the Russians sent... Soviet probe crashes into Venus, 1966. Okay, here that we're in the right ballpark. What was the name of that series of missions? Point is Venus, which they claim has a surface temperature of like 800, 900 degrees. The cameras that they lowered in there were opened up by parachute, but the parachute never caught fire. I mean, I'm sure they sent some, heat-sensitive equipment.
Absolutely.
There, But if it were 900 degrees, even like, you know what? I'm not even going to indulge that argument. Just think. That's all we're saying, people. Think. Well, anyway, so the story's been morphing. So those police reports from the 50s and 60s and 70s started to change from, we're from Mars and Venus, to we're from different star systems. So right there, they're lying. I mean, assuming that these,
right,
any of these 9 million police reports are true, which I think they are, and it's actually much more than 9 million. There's probably 20 million, but over 2 generations, 3% of the population at any given time, 9 million a generation ago, another 9 million now. And you've got all these, we've developed so many psychological syndromes, and I studied psychology at Michigan. I think so many of those are actually a form of demonic demonization of some sort. But nonetheless, they, I don't know where I was going with that, but I don't trust these guys. There's some people that think they're actually benevolent. No way.
Nope.
And if you think they
anything
that
they do in private, anything that must be done in secrecy is not benevolent.
Yeah, I'm
with you. If it was benevolent, they'd do it right out in the open. They would gain our trust.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about this on other shows, but why would... You've got to be in the camp of believing that there's something up there. Now, if you're not there yet, this segment will be meaningless to you. In fact, you won't even understand. It'll turn you off. So you've got to at least get far enough to believe there's something up there. And a good place to start is The Disclosure Project by Stephen Greer.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Which has, it's a collection of, I don't know what the number is now. It's well into the hundreds, maybe even thousands of credible. These are 1, 2, 3, 4-star generals, air traffic controllers, pilots, military, CIA, FBI. These are all credible people coming out and saying, no, there's. I've seen them. I've seen these creatures. We're interfacing with them where these things are real. I've seen them with my own eyes. And you got to understand if you're a 2-star general, and you come out and say... and
you're done. That's it. Your career's over.
You're either A, you've gone crazy, B, you're following the orders of someone by saying, tell them you saw this, or C, you want to tell the truth. Now, do I think all of them are crazy? I do not. Are some of them perhaps part of the deception? Maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
But are any of them telling the truth? You only need one. If one of them is telling the truth, your worldview needs to adjust. And so that's a good place to start, because if you don't believe there's something in our skies, this is going to go right over your head. The whole alien, UFO, ET, whatever you want to call it, if something happens inside of you where the minute you hear those words, you want to dismiss, scoff, or eye roll, understand you are witnessing your own social programming at work, because you're dismissing something before considering it.
Right.
And that is, that's the definition of ignorance. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that God goes very far out of his way to say, do not be ignorant, do not be deceived. It's as if he's saying...
That's a reoccurring theme.
Very reoccurring. He goes out... He would even answer that... the Olivet Discourse.
Right, he would answer questions beginning with that.
There's some different theories on how this took place, but his 4 closest disciples are having a private briefing conversation with Jesus on the Mount of Olives, hence the Olivet Discourse. And by now they've been with him for several years. They know that he's the Son of God and that he's going to be coming back. And they asked him, what are going to be the signs of your, what's going to be going on when you come back? How will we know it's about to happen? And Jesus would always reply, not with the list of things going on or the date. He would always go with, do not be deceived. Do not be deceived. What do you think he meant? Why would he keep harping on that?
Because he knows Satan's end game.
So then the next argument from people might be, well, if God put Satan down here and he's out trying to deceive everyone, why punish us if we end up believing a lie? Like, if you're a good person, but you end up believing that the aliens are really, quote-unquote, aliens from another planet, why can that get you in trouble? Do you want to answer that?
Well, it can get you in trouble because if you believe when they come down here and they do what we believe they're going to do, if you follow them, you'll be replacing God with them.
And you will ultimately end up accepting
them
whatever
as your
this
God, which is the ultimate sin.
Well, it's going to go beyond that because it's Jesus has somewhat of a problem because as long as you're alive, even if it's with your last breath, if you basically, even in your last moments of life, say, Jesus, please forgive me, there's hope for redemption. But at some point, we're going to get to a point where before people have died, they will not have that option anymore. And this is where I think God is using the mark of the beast to circumvent and short-circuit what normally would be an entire lifetime to figure out if God is real or not. And he says most of humanity will end up accepting this thing, and it will permanently disqualify them from heaven. And I think it's more than just a mental decision or some kind of a spiritual thing. I tend to believe that whatever this mark is going to change our DNA. And look, it's God's playhouse, his rules. And if those are his rules, those are his rules. I mean, the people that accept this thing they're lost. And I mean lost permanently. There is no coming
Eternally.
back from it. And if you are going to try and figure out what's up in our skies after they've manifested themselves and shown themselves to us, it's probably going to be too late. You might have a few memories of hearing a few radio shows and seeing some stuff on the internet back when the internet was on, but you're probably not going to be able to figure out that these things are actually the demons that we've been up against since the beginning of time.
And that's the thing too. So many people dismiss. We were part of that crowd once that, dismiss some of the things we talk about, and they dismiss it without ever bothering to look up one shred of evidence to prove that we are idiots. They just dismiss it. But the ones that you can get to look into it, all of a sudden we're recruiting because it becomes clear.
That's why if you can figure out I used to think this, although I'm seeing examples now where I know people in my life that, for instance, absolutely believe 9/11 was a false flag. And a lot of those people also know Sandy Hook, for instance, absolutely was a false flag. Now, when you start to get there and you're starting to figure stuff out, I felt safe. I felt like, okay, we're going to get a base hit here because I'm going to take you one step further.
Right.
Well, it's not even that I say aliens. I go, look, understand who's pulling this. You're getting little peeks behind Satan's operation. Now, it's so big that it's not like one little peak's going to do it for you. And it took 8 or 9 months of 24/7 research, basically, before it finally hit me. Oh my gosh, these aren't just some wacky human. These people are following the orders of our enemy. It's not even God's enemy. God already kicked his ass. I mean, it's no contest between God and Satan. And I think God's purposes are, I'm sure there's more than just one, but it's like military basic training. I mean, you've got to get through some basic hoops to progress on to the, your future unit. You can't just sign up for the military and go, oh, where do I go?
Where's my gun?
And if a third of heaven's population was lost because they followed Satan and were booted out of heaven, and angels don't reproduce, and that's out of the Bible. Well, what a great way to replenish a third of heaven with the souls of the humans that qualified, that for however God ends up doing it, how they distinguish who or how exactly, I don't know. But they did boil it down to its very most simplest terms, which is, I'm sending my son. So if you believe in him, you can get out of here. Now, referring back to Dick Gregory,
yeah,
there is one thing he said that, I thought about it for a while, because he believes in God, but I think he believes that the Bible is another fabrication.
Okay.
And I considered that for a long time. That's a whole show discussing why I do not believe that anymore. But he did ask, this man can think, by the way. He did ask a question that I had to sit there and ponder for a minute. He's like, if Jesus Christ was the Son of God and he was down here 2,000 years ago, in fact, he's with Satan and Satan's tempting him by offering up the whole world. He goes, why didn't Jesus just kill him right then? And I actually thought about that for a minute. Now, God has his own purposes, and I think that's why this whole humanity thing could be, in a sense, a recruiting mission.
At that point, Jesus was human, wasn't he?
Well, but he had the power. He was half God, half human.
But at that point, Jesus was human, and the whole exercise of Jesus coming to earth was to have one sinless man. If he would have killed Satan, he would have committed a sin, whether he was righteous or not.
Yeah, but and this is where I have to be devil's advocate to my own belief system, because why is it so important that at least one man be sinless?
Because that is one of the many proofs that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. Because he was predicted, and no man can go a lifetime without sinning.
I'm with you. I mean, I can't even go a day, but it is such a it's from our stupid human perspective. It is such a convoluted, complicated process, and I do admit, some of the questions I asked early on is, I literally, once I knew God was real, I'm not going to say talking to him, because that implies that he talks back to me. I talk at him, and I do frankly believe the things that we sometimes think are coincidence aren't. That might be his way of communicating with us, because if he is an all light creature and there's no darkness in him, his being around us could be lethal to us. So maybe that's just how he has to. I don't know. But I have always wondered, why the dog and pony show? Why not just... So Dick Gregory asked this question. He's like, why didn't Jesus just kill him right then? He had the power to. It wasn't nails that held him on the cross. He could have come down if he would have wanted. Why... doesn't it seem like such an odd way to save a species?
Well, there's a whole lot of odd things, but...
Well, yeah, based on how we were taught about how the world works,
yeah,
and it by design, what's in the Bible is meant to look absolutely impossible and strange.
But again, you're using human understanding.
Who are you talking to, by the way?
Kat is just texting me off the hook here.
What does she have to say?
Corinthians. She's got Bible verses. Surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
She said the answer to the first question is one man fell, one man saves. And then she gives us a Bible verse. And so it is written, the first man, Adam, became a living being. The last Adam became a life-giving spirit. However, the spirit is not first, but the natural and afterward the spiritual. I got it, okay. The first man was of the earth, made of dust. The second man is the Lord from heaven. That's 1 Corinthians 15:45 through 47.
Yeah, and in a total counterfeit, this is why, if I had to put money on it, I actually suspect that these hybrid creatures that look almost completely human to the untrained eye, I do suspect that they really are a hybrid. The complete counterfeit, because Jesus was half man, half God. And that's what Satan's going to present, is a half man, half demonic God. That's who the Antichrist is going to be. And just like Jesus, he's going to be killed, and he's going to rise. He's going to rise from his deadly wounds. He's going to basically redo the Bible story, so that'll have the Hebrews, the Jews, hooked, because they're still waiting for the Messiah to come the first time.
Right.
They know everything he's supposed to do now. So when Satan
They've
counterfeits
had 2,000
that,
years to research it. Yeah.
they will totally believe that that's the real Jesus. I mean, those people are primed to get fooled. But some of them will realize, holy cow, they're going to get it. They're going to get it right at the last minute. And it's going to be when Israel is on the verge of complete implosion. Like, they're going to be down to their last bullets. It's going to look absolutely hopeless. There will be a 200 million man army surrounding Israel. I think obviously made up of several nations. Gog, Magog. I think this is going to include Russians, Turks, Chinese, Egyptians, Libyans, most of Muslim countries.
Yeah.
And in a matter of literally a few minutes, where Israel is like, we're dead. We are toast. It's over. All of a sudden, the clouds are going to part. Jesus Christ is going to come down, and he's going to wipe out this 200 million man army in a matter of a few minutes. Gone, all of them. In fact, the blood will be, it's going to be up to like horses' knees or the bridle of horses. And at that moment, many Jews will convert. In fact, there's another little code in the Bible when he lands on, I don't know if it's Mount Olive or...
I think it's Mount Olive.
It could also be... well, it's somewhere really close to Israel. He's going to land with his army, and it's going to crack this mountain. Mount Hermon, maybe? Whatever it is. And at that moment, the Jews that know what's going on will actually run towards this
rather than away.
Massive... I mean, think about how scary that will be. He's going to land. It's going to shake everything on Earth. It's going to split this mountain in half. Your human guttural instinct will be to run from that. And he goes, in that moment, a portion of the Jews will realize, oh my gosh, this is the real Jesus. And they're going to run towards that chaos. And the ones that run away are lost. So if you're Jewish and listening to this, do a little research on that. Be prepped. A plan to figure this out as you go is not going to work. And if you want to be able to defend yourself against what is coming, you've got to be, as preachery as this sounds, you've got to be indwelled with the Holy Spirit. You cannot be indwelled with the enemy of the Holy Spirit. And there's some people very close to me. there is one particular person that's very close to me, and we have the hardest time getting along. And it always, and I just, inwardly, I'm like, well, you know why? Now, I've said this to this person many different times. But at the end of the day, the spirit that indwells me has been at war with the spirits that indwell you. And that is why I think we will always clash. And it always happens when, the booze comes out. Happened again this week, too.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So,
according to Zechariah, it is the Mount of Olives.
Mount of Olives? Okay, thanks.
Mount of Olives.
So, well, I think what is going to happen in our, and whether it's not our lifetime or not, doesn't matter. We're not date setting. But either way you slice
not yet,
it,
at least.
If eternity's real and you will not be able to, this might sound morbid, but can you imagine being tortured with suicide not even being a viable option? What kind of God would let someone be tortured? He doesn't want anyone tortured.
No, he's giving you an easy
He actually
out.
wants everyone to come into his kingdom, but he's the CEO of heaven. And he can't do something that is going to discredit his pristine... He can't let riffraff in just because, you think there's only one way through that door. Yeah. And he's very clear about how to do it, and it has to do with his son, Jesus Christ, and you just got to figure...
Man's standards are flexible. We slide the bar. I've watched it happen in my lifetime.
Oh. God's
standards are absolute. So you can sit there and go, no, I think I'm going to be okay. And keep telling yourself that. That's great. I hope you are.
Yeah, it was
because I don't think I'm going to be okay, and so I'm doing everything I can to become okay.
Yeah, Dave Hunt was he was kind of making fun of this, but he goes, "Can you imagine? There will be some people, now this guy absolutely believes in God and Judgment Day and well-versed scientific guy, not just a preachery Bible guy, because I'm not a fan of those guys. Not to say that there's anything wrong with them, but I got here through a different way." And he's like, imagine even in our human courts, like if you went up and you had been arrested for burglarizing, and your argument to the judge was, you know what, yes, I burglarized that, but you know what, last week I didn't burglarize anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And
next week I don't plan on doing it either.
Yeah, I don't plan
Probably
on it.
good for a few more weeks before I burglarize again.
Now, that literally is going to be the argument many people have on that day. And it's going to fail. And I'm only saying that because God said it would fail.
One of the stories that rings the truest with me is the Pharisee and the tax collector. Because I certainly feel like the tax collector.
Meaning that the Pharisee thought that he was...
well, they said, Jesus said, the Pharisee comes up and says, "Oh, thank you, Lord, that I'm not like these other scumbags," and goes off about how great he is in his own opinion. And the tax collector stays 20 feet away from the altar and falls to his knees and says, I'm not worthy.
Right, I need your mercy.
I need your mercy. I can't, I can't.
Right, I know the story, and the Pharisee is going, "Thank God I'm not like him." But who's going to heaven?
Yeah, the tax collector,
the guy that's asking for mercy. So
that's my only hope. Is mercy.
Oh yeah, this is what I mean. Like the more I look into these things and realize how broken this world is, I actually on the way up here today, I was just like, God, why are you even fiddling with us? Why don't my person, I would nuke the whole project and start out. Maybe that's what he did with the flood. I mean, he in a sense nuked the first wave of that project.
Well, you would have 10 ant farms going at once.
I just when Dave Hunt put it in those words, I'm like, I'd feel so sheepish in front even of a human judge.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the judge were my own mother,
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect to be let off. But we are expecting to have more grace for what? What did we do to earn it? Nothing. And it's this egocentrism, more of the last century or so, really the century, this has been Satan's century, especially through mass media, the way we are so far into left field, it's laughable. But there are a lot of people that firmly believe like they're owed something from God.
And the government.
And when they show up, they're going to have a word or two to say to God about...
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, if there is a judgment day, and if you are ever in the presence of the... I can't say person, the entity. That sounds a little cold and impersonal. You're in the presence of the one that created this world. You really think you're going to, speak your... Dude...
Well, we're arrogant.
You will be on your knees
You
bawling like a little baby, probably screaming, "What have I done? What have I done?"
If I manage to not sin and live the perfect holy life the rest of my existence on this planet, I'd still fall at his feet. And then I would ask him who shot JFK.
Mark Files.
I know, but I need confirmation.
Okay. Ask Jim Mars, he'll tell you. Yeah, that's one thing I am excited about.
And then I'd want the platypus explained.
Well, maybe God has a few cocktails from time to time. We cut out early that day. We're like, we're going to make two animals.
That proves that God has a sense of humor.
Yeah, very possibly. Yeah, it's almost like how we all slow down to watch a car accident. It's, we don't want to be in the accident, but there's like this morbid curiosity of it.
Got to find out what's up.
I have that, and I hope this is not going to damn me, but I have that for Judgment Day. Like, I think this will be the biggest event in all of human history, not of heavenly history, but of human history. And I do think all court cases, in a sense, will be retried.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to find out.
Yeah.
We're going to get to the bottom of whatever we want to get to the. Yeah. I think, at least, as sort of my curiosity in me hopes that we're going to have a chance to someday know the truth about all of it. Who knows? But yeah, I do think we'll find out everyone that was involved in JFK's shooting. There's a few names that I think will be there for sure, and
I want to hear them all.
Yeah, well, there are going to be a lot. So there was something else that we brought up earlier, which I wanted to close out on. Paul Hellyer, Hillary Clinton. So politics has been a big discussion in our house. And my mom's like all
you too, huh?
Pro-Trump.
Really? Mom's pro-Trump? God, I love that woman. I love that woman.
Yeah, when I showed her this Trump prophecy video.
Nice.
She was already there, but she's like, oh my gosh. She has a Spanish accent. She's like, David, oh no. He has to be president. It's our only chance. Like, she wouldn't even believe anything a few years ago. Now she's like...
Your mom is awesome.
And my sister's so into it. And my sister's one of the people that, she knows about 9/11. She knows about Sandy Hook. But she hasn't, put it together. The light has still has not gone off. Mm-hmm. And I don't get that. Nonetheless, my sister's coming into town in a couple weeks. I know we're going to be talking about this because Hillary Clinton had that. She passed out last week.
Yeah.
And then a couple of hours later, she's walking out of her daughter's apartment and waving to a crowd. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes, I do.
And I wasn't looking for this or anything, but I was just doing some research on other stuff. And, nowadays, true or not, you can find...
it's all there.
And, again, think about this. This woman is surrounded by Secret Service. And all of a sudden, 2 hours after she almost passes out, she's walking down a sidewalk in New York City without a Secret Service agent anywhere in the picture. Okay, that smells. And then there are people that have gone and analyzed, different images of Hillary Clinton.
Body double.
And I'm thinking, holy cow, this is a body double. This is not the same woman. Like this, she's 30 pounds lighter. She had a different color. A couple hours later, she has different colored hair.
Maybe it wasn't even the real Chelsea.
Well, I didn't see Chelsea. She just came out of Chelsea's apartment.
Oh, gotcha.
The fact that she came out of Chelsea's apartment tells me that there is some Clinton involvement. It's not just a lookalike.
Well, they're involved in everything else.
Just for fun, just going, hey, I'm screwing around with everyone. I'm Hillary.
Oh, cool. I went to.
No, this was like an organized kind of thing. And if you're way out in left field, and I'm not saying I believe this, but I don't dismiss it either, because there have been a number of moments where Hillary is caught on camera, like having a quasi-epileptic type of seizure.
Yeah, more than one.
More than one. I'm talking dozens of them. And it just smells of like some sort of demonization. Like, I think if you're going to get to that level, you've got to open yourself up to the dark side so these things can come and go when they please. And I think she's been caught, someone that's constantly on camera. We see a few times where something is happening to her that it's weird. It's not like she starts. It's the term I came up with is malfunctioning clone.
Yeah, there you
like
go.
Again, I don't know. Again, I'm not saying
some stinks.
Well, something
stinks.
Something's weird.
But something always stinks when you're dealing with them.
All right, well, our personal little mission is to uncover the dark side. It is not to bring glory to these dudes. They're going to be leading a lot of people off of a cliff. Not because they know what they're doing. They themselves have been deceived. But we were already told that is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. The whole point of what we do here is to get people to open their eyes. We're not trying to sell books, although we will be next month.
Yeah, right.
We're not trying to. There's no money in this, all right? And believe me, there's no like glory. I like being on stage in my old life, not now. Nonetheless, it's a warning. I mean, we're like watchmen. The armies are lined up at the outside of our towns, and we're calling, get ready. It's going to happen. We're not bringing it on. Get ready. At the end of the day, our only defense, it's Jesus Christ, and that's it. And all I can say is look into it, people. Figure it out.
Figure it out for yourself.
Because it's going to be too late very, very soon, in my humble opinion.
This has been Down the Rabbit Hole. Happy Hour's up next. We're out.
Peace.